Sudan is a nation of paradoxes, rich in history and culture, yet plagued by division and strife. On April 15, 2023, this country found itself at the epicenter of a new conflict, one that would redefine the very nature of its existence. In less than a month, 528 people have died, and around 5,000 have been injured. Lives shattered, families torn apart, and communities devastated by the escalating violence. But what lies beneath the surface of this rapidly unfolding crisis? What are the underlying causes and the key players that have set the stage for this tragic turn of events? Let me tell you about the irony behind all of this happening there. Two powerful men of Sudan who once lived and fought for the same cause, side by side, are now standing on opposite sides of the battlefield. What could drive these former allies to turn against each other? You're going to find out in this video. Let's get started. To understand the main reason behind the horrible ongoing war in Sudan, you have to understand the complex history that has shaped this nation. Well, Sudan is known for its colourful blend of ethnicities and cultures. Its population is a fascinating mix of people with different customs and beliefs. Muslims make up around 90.7% of the population in North Sudan, while in South Sudan, African traditional religions and Christianity together account for about 83.4% of the population. This diversity was put to the test when the government imposed Islamic laws, causing unease among the various communities. The tensions that followed eventually led to the split of Sudan into two regions, the Muslim-majority north and the ethnically diverse south. The landscape of Sudan's politics changed dramatically afterwards. At that time, Omar al-Bashir was the president. He became president in 1989. He was then a brigadier general in the Sudanese army, who led a military coup to gain power. Al-Bashir wanted to overthrow the democratically elected government of Prime Minister Sadiq al-Mahdi. At the time, the government was negotiating with southern rebels, but al-Bashir viewed this as a sign of weakness and decided to take control, and he succeeded. Under al-Bashir's rule, Sudan entered a new chapter filled with uncertainty and conflict. Well, people were deeply frustrated that their democratically elected government had been toppled. It was after al-Bashir came into power that the country descended into a civil war, which later ended in the splitting of the country into its north and south part in 2011. But who helped al-Bashir topple the democratic government? Let's find out. During the last few decades in Sudanese politics, two key figures emerged under al-Bashir's rule: General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan and Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, also known as Hemeti. Both men held influential positions in the military and worked closely with al-Bashir during his time in power. General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who was an experienced military officer, rose through the ranks to become the Chief of Staff of the Sudanese Armed Forces. His responsibilities included overseeing the army's strategic planning and ensuring the security of the nation. Mohamed Hamdan Dagalo, on the other hand, was the commander of the Rapid Support Forces, or commonly known as RSF, which is a paramilitary group notorious for its role in suppressing internal conflicts and rebellions. Under al-Bashir, the RSF was instrumental in maintaining control and quelling any opposition to the regime. However, as the political climate in Sudan became increasingly turbulent, both al-Burhan and Hemeti began to reassess their allegiance to al-Bashir. They eventually turned against him, playing pivotal roles in the coup that ousted the long-serving president in 2019. In an unexpected twist of fate, the very men who once supported al-Bashir's rule now stood against him, leading to his downfall. With al-Bashir removed from power, al-Burhan and Hemeti found themselves in a unique position to shape the future of Sudan. This was when they formed the Transitional Sovereignty Council. After removing al-Bashir from power, al-Burhan and Hemeti worked together to create the Transitional Sovereignty Council. This new governing body included both military and civilian representatives. They decided to serve as the collective head of state for Sudan. What was their goal? To keep peaceful cooperation between the military and civilians during this critical transitional phase. The Sovereignty Council planned to govern Sudan for a total of 39 months. They decided that for the first 21 months, Abdel Fattah al-Burhan would lead the council. After that, a civilian member will be the head for the remaining 18 months. It seemed that Sudan was moving towards stability and positive change, as the council aimed to rule in a more fair and inclusive way, but not for long. As the 21-month mark approached in November 2021, the situation grew tense. On October 25, 2021, Just a month before the civilian leadership was set to take over, General al-Burhan carried out a military coup with the help of Hemeti and took control of the government. It was a shock to the civilians, and why would it not be? Many government officials, ministers, political party members, and lawyers were arrested or confined to their homes. The military's action made it clear that they were not ready to give up control over the civilians. Now, with al-Burhan and Hemeti in charge of Sudan's government, the stage was set for even more conflict, this time between the two military generals. So, after the 2021 military coup, the once promising partnership between the two powerful military leaders began to fall apart. The burning question was, what led these former allies to turn against each other? Let's find out. But before I tell you that, don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing content, and click on the notification bell so you're the first to know when I post new videos. Now, let's get back to the video. After the 2021 coup, tensions grew between al-Burhan and Hemeti. Why? Let me explain. Well, you see, Sudan's government was controlled by elites from Khartoum, and Hemeti, on the other side, who was from Darfur, felt like an outsider. So, people in power often spoke poorly of him, making him feel uneasy and offensive. Things took a turn for the worse when al-Burhan started hiring people who had previously worked for al-Bashir. Many of them were Islamists. This move deeply concerned Hemeti, who began to think that al-Burhan might betray him as they had done together with al-Bashir. To make matters worse, these new hires, who were once loyal to Hemeti, had now turned against him. So Hemeti feared for his position and safety. He decided to take matters into his own hands. To do this, he started forming alliances with rebel groups, particularly those from his native Darfur region. This strategic move only served to cause more tension and mistrust between the two powerful generals. In response to Hemeti's actions, al-Burhan declared him a rebel and ordered the dissolution of the Rapid Support Forces, or RSF. But Hemeti was not the one to back down and leave his position, which is why he struck back. On April 15th, Hemeti's forces launched attacks in the capital and other regions near Khartoum. They entered heavily populated areas and started gunfire and heavy explosions. In response, the Air Force started airstrikes which turned the cities into a war zone. The lines were drawn. It was now the RSF against the Sudanese military. Caught in the crossfire are the people of Sudan. Innocent civilians are being killed, injured, humiliated, and raped as the two factions battle each other relentlessly. Sudan, a nation that had once been hopeful for stability, peace, and reform, is now facing a devastating crisis. Do you know who is helping these two parties? Let me show you. Well, the United Nations and Western countries like the United States, they're imposing sanctions over sanctions on Sudan. They're trying to make the two military groups stop fighting. But can the US send troops to stop the conflict? Nope. They are already involved in too many conflicts around the world and cannot afford to take on another. Now, there are some rumours that Russia might be supporting Hemeti and his RSF. Why would Russia do that? It seems like they want access to the Red Sea for trading, so, to help the RSF, the Russian mercenary group Wagner is supplying Sudan's forces. If this is true, Russia is already picking sides. When it comes to resources, Hemeti seems to have an edge. He has got a huge business empire, from gold mines to car rentals, giving him the money and power to back an army of 100,000 troops. But don't count out the Sudanese military. They've got a strong soldier count too. This means that the only ones suffering here are the poor residents of Sudan. It is not just the Sudanese who are bearing the brunt of this conflict. As the fighting continues, hundreds of Western nationals, including around 4,000 British, 1,500 Europeans, and 16,000 Americans find themselves stranded in Sudan. Unluckily, they are unable to escape the danger. The people of Sudan, both locals and foreigners, are desperate for peace and stability, but the future remains uncertain. Will the leaders back down? Can Sudan find a way to navigate out of this dark chapter in its history? For now, the only thing we know is that the fate of Sudan and its people hangs in the balance. This power struggle between the top military figures might devastate and possibly annihilate the country. So, only time will tell if the nation can emerge from this crisis. What are your thoughts on this? Which party would gain control eventually? Share your opinion with me in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.